Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. After the presentation, we'll conduct a question-and-answer session. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. And now I'd like to introduce your host for today's conference, Linda Abrazizi. You may begin.
Thank you, and good afternoon for those of you joining on the East and West Coast. Thank you for joining us for our webinar from the Basic Guide to Exporting on the AES Overview, including how to use the AES PC link. Today's main speaker is Nidal Gibran, who is from the Foreign Trade Division of the Automated Export System. My name is Linda Abrazizi, and I'm an International Specialist for the Trade Information Center for the U.S. Commercial Department of Commerce. And this webinar is being brought to you in cooperation by the U.S. Commercial Service and the Census Bureau. This webinar will talk about the importance of filing export information in the AES PC Link online system. You will learn about the benefits and registering with AES PC Link, the Census Bureau's online filing system. You will also learn about the features of the AES PC Link and how to maintain your company's filings. I would like to note that this webinar is being brought to you in part of the National Export Initiative supported by President Obama. As you can see, we have a number of archive webinars that we have been doing in this series with the Basic Guide to Exporting, and we do have all of these webinars that we're doing archived under our website, www.export.gov. As you can see, we also have some frequently asked questions that can help you with our webinar series. And you can also view some of the other webinars that we have done with the Basic Guide to Exporting theme. I'd like to also go over our agenda for today's webinar. Once again, Nidal Gibran, he will be our main speaker, and he will go over the following points that are important for you guys in learning about AES and the AES PC link. I'd also like to familiarize everybody with the export.gov website. As you can see, we are in support of the National Export Initiative, and we do have a lot of information about that and other important topics that are useful to you in exporting. Another important point that I'd like to point out in our series here with the Basic Guide to Exporting and with export.gov is that we have a hotline which is called, the Trade Information Center has a hotline which is called the 1-800-USA-TRADE. And as you can see in the front of your screen, that number is probably the best number you could reach out to get export counseling on all the government agencies within the commercial service and within the government, related topics to exporting, legal, compliance issues, industry issues, et cetera. And that's where I'm currently working at the Trade Information Center, and that's the hotline that we answer calls to every day. So please note that contact number. It's very important. And also please note the website, www.export.gov, that you see in the center of the screen, where you can find a lot of information about exporting. I've also included my name. I'm Linda Abrazizi, and once again, just reiterating, we're the Trade Information Center working in cooperation with the U.S. Census Bureau. And once again, check out the 1-800-USA-TRADE number and, of course, the website, export.gov. And now I'd also like to give you a few housekeeping details on how to work through and understand the content and how to find out how to utilize this webinar and the technology of this webinar to your benefit. You should be able to hear everything during this presentation via your telephone and viewing it simultaneously via your computer. So if you're not hooked up through both, please take a moment to do this. And if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please press *0 anytime during this presentation, and the operator will be able to assist you. We will be taking written and voice questions. On the upper left-hand side of your screen is an icon with the words or letters, that say Q&A. If you click on that icon, you can ask a question anytime during this presentation, and we will compile those questions and present them to our main speaker when and if time allows. And type questions which are not answered during this webinar, we will get back to you via an email afterwards. So please note that once again on the upper left-hand side of your screen is an icon with the letters Q&A. You can type in your questions anytime during this presentation. Now to ask a voice question, you can also do that, and you can press *1 on your telephone to ask a voice question. Now I'd like to introduce live online Nidal Gibran, who is from the AES Marketing Client Services of the AES Foreign Trade Automated Export System branch for the U.S. Census Bureau. Nidal, thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Nidal Gibran, and I am a client representative and marketing specialist at the Automated Export Systems as part of the Foreign Trade Division of the U.S. Census Bureau. Today we'll take an in-depth look at the AES PcLink component of AES Direct. Now this is the standalone software version of AES Direct. We're not going to touch on AES Direct so much as its software component. Okay, so we're going to get started here. Okay, so just a brief background of the Automated Export Systems. The Automated Export Systems, or AES, this is a free service provided by the Census Bureau to the trade. AES is the customs database system that processes and stores all electronic export information, or EEI. Once submitted, the data will be processed and AES will respond with either two items, either the internal transaction number or the ITN, which is the proof of filing citation, or any rejection statements or error messages if the shipment was denied. Now, AES is important because it is the center of your export transactions. Without it, the internal transaction numbers could not be issued and export data will not be collected. Okay, so now let's examine the three benefits for filing electronically. More accurate data. With the built-in edits and validations, this allows for the reporting of complete and accurate electronic export information. Increased compliance. By reporting the EEI electronically, you will receive reports that provide your reporting rate, rejected shipments, and late filed shipments electronically and automatically. This will enable you as the user to take corrective measures for ensuring compliance with AES. Okay, so this is our homepage. This can be accessed by going to www.aesdirect.gov, and this is the entry point to the AES Direct system. Now, as a new user, we're going to be focusing on the registration steps first. You may register for AES, and again, this is a free service provided by the U.S. Census Bureau. You may first register by selecting the register link at the AES Direct homepage. We also have other resources available at our website, and we'll touch on this more later in the presentation, but I'd like to highlight those for you right now. The most important, I would say, would be the user guides, and those can be found towards the right under the heading Need Training. If you look down at the second bullet, you can click on User Guides, and this will take you to our user guides. We offer three different user guides. We offer a user guide for AES Direct, which is the online version. We also offer a user guide for the PcLink software, which we're covering in this presentation. We also offer a separate user guide for account administrators and how to manage your account. Another link I would like to point out is the Support Center. Now, this can be found towards the left, that group of column of links to the left under the Using AES Direct heading. It's the second link in that group, and the Support Center offers a lot of information. This offers FAQs, which are frequently asked questions, as well as very important contact information both inside U.S. Census and outside, including customs, technical support, that sort of thing. All right, so let's get started here. Registering. Okay. Registering for AES is pretty simple. This is the first thing that has to be done before the software can be downloaded. In order to register, you're going to start off by selecting the register link at the AES Direct homepage and filling out the electronic form. Once this form has been submitted, you will receive a prompt from AES through email asking that you create your username and your password. Once the account information has been created, you will then be required to complete a small certification quiz. Now, the quiz may be a little overwhelming at first, but we do offer the user guides at our website as well as our call center to assist you while taking that quiz. The purpose of this quiz is to make sure that the users understand all the nuances and all the features with AES Direct. this can do a lot to save trouble down the road. As long as you're educated and you understand the system before registering, this is sort of a preemptive measure. Okay, so once the quiz has been completed, the user may begin logging into AES Direct and begin filing, or you may download the AES PcLink software from our website and entering your data offline. Okay, AES PcLink was designed to speed up the keying of export information by providing local data entry of export information. So this means that you may enter your data and store your data while you're offline. You do not need an active internet connection during all steps of the transmission process. This is unique because with the AES Direct website, you are required to have an active internet connection through all steps. So this can be a little more convenient for our users. Again, the software may be downloaded from AES Direct, or you can install it directly from a CD. Now, AES PcLink, much like AES Direct, has full local validation of all key data in order to maintain AES data quality. Now, the only elements that the PcLink software cannot check live are license numbers for license shipments, VIN numbers when reporting used vehicles, and the carrier code information. However, when the user is ready to send the shipments, and at this point an active internet connection is required, once you're ready to send your shipments, AES Direct will batch all of the data to AES for full editing, and you'll receive your responses real time. Okay, now as I mentioned earlier, we do offer the user guides at our website, and these can be accessed through two links. You may click on the user guides link to the left under training, or as mentioned earlier, you can click on user guides under the need training in that third gray box to the right. The support center is a very valuable tool, especially if any questions come up during the filing process or while taking that certification quiz. Now, if you look towards the bottom, there should be an arrow pointing to a link that says Getting Started. Now, this is where you're going to download PcLink. Once you register and you have your account information, your username, and your password, you will need that information before you download the software. So keep that on hand as you select that link and click on the appropriate link for PcLink, and then you can download that locally to your hard drive. Okay, this is just a way to visually show the process flow with PcLink and AES Direct and how it interacts with the AES system. Basically, when the data is first transmitted from AES Direct or AES PcLink, the data will go through a number of upfront edits, and this is done in order to minimize the chances of a rejected shipment. Once AES receives and processes the shipment data, the user will be sent either an ITN number from AES if your shipment has been accepted, or a fatal error message and a rejection statement if the shipment is denied for any reason. The responses will come back to you in a few ways. Primarily, all users will receive an email. However, there are other ways to view your responses if your email is not working, or if you like to view those responses a little faster, because there is sort of a lag between sending your data, validating your data, and receiving that response. There's about a 15-minute wait time there. If you want to receive your responses in more real time, you may look at the status of your shipments through the Shipment Reporting Center at AES Direct, or with an AES PcLink, we offer a Shipment Reporting Center as well, and I'll take you through that once we get to those slides. So we have a few ways of viewing your responses from AES. Okay, I'd like to cover some of the features of PcLink. Unlike AES Direct, AES PcLink is offered in both English and Spanish. Now, I'd like to point out to you, although the interface is available in Spanish, the data as it is entered is always going to be entered in English and processed in English. However, we do offer the interface in Spanish, and that is unique. AES Direct Online does not have that capability. Another unique feature of AES PcLink is the ability to store up to 1,000 templates and profiles within your software. I believe in AES Direct you can only store up to 10, so this is a large gap right here. And this is why I personally do enjoy and prefer PcLink. It is a lot more user-friendly. You do have, it's a more powerful tool, and of course you can store up to 1,000 templates and profiles as well, which can really be a benefit to our high-volume filers and exporters. In PcLink, you have the option to use and toggle between HTS and Schedule B codes while reporting your commodity lines. You may also retrieve your shipment responses directly from AES Direct within the PcLink software. AES Direct responses will be stored in PcLink, and they can be viewed right in the system. AES PcLink maintenance. Okay, now there are a few, I wouldn't say drawbacks, but there are some extra maintenance procedures that should be taken with PcLink that would not be necessary with AES Direct. Now, since AES PcLink is primarily an offline system, it is up to the user to make sure that your software is updated and the code tables are updated. If you're using the AES Direct website, those updates are managed automatically by our technical support staff. So if you're at our website filing your data, you know that you're always using the most current version of AES and you are referencing the current code tables. And again, with PcLink, this is offline, so you'll need to make sure that you update those code tables and your software about every month or so. Of course, this should also be done upon the first installation. Once you first install the program, the first thing that should be done is to update the code tables and update the software, and we're going to go over that as well later. And of course, within the PcLink, you have to make sure that you have the correct commodity code selection, whether you're operating with a harmonized tariff schedule, HTS, or Schedule B. Okay, so once we've installed the program, we've registered for an account, we've taken the certification quiz, we're ready to open up the system. Now, this is what the user will see every time the program is executed. I just like to take you through the different features here. Starting at the left-hand row or column, welcome to PcLink. Most of the time, you're going to be selecting the Create New Shipment. That will be your first entry point. So clicking on that will bring you to your electronic form for reporting your data. Below that, the company profiles. Here you will enter and store your profile information for your USPPI profiles, ultimate consignee profiles, and freight forwarder profiles. Now, this is the benefit. If you, as a forwarder, are doing business with a certain number of clients on a frequent basis, it may be a benefit to store their information as a profile and populate that data by selecting that profile instead of entering in that data with each transaction. So that's a feature we allow, and again, you can store up to 1,000. Below that, you can also store your shipment as a shipment template if you're processing, if you're sending out the same sorts of shipments each time, the same commodities to the same country for the same USPPIs, for example. You can store all that information as a shipment template, and it will greatly limit the amount of data you have to enter for each shipment. So those are some features that I believe makes PcLink stand out from AES Direct. Now, all of these that I mentioned can be performed while offline. You do not need an internet connection in order to create a shipment, to create and store profiles, or to create and store your shipment templates. However, if you look to the group of links starting at shipment responses and all the way down to the very end, those features will require an internet connection. So just keep that in mind. The top half, you can be offline. Bottom half, you need the internet connection in order to send your data, delete the shipment, retrieve the shipment, and view the status, etc. Okay, now earlier I described the importance of making sure we're updating our software. In order to do that, you're going to select Tools, and the first option there is Update AES PcLink software. So we're going to do this upon our first installation of the program. Make sure we're operating under the most current version of the software. If you look towards the fourth option, AES Code Tables, we're also going to make sure that we update our code tables every month as well. In order to do that, just select that link, and it will bring up this dialog box with all of the available updates. If you'll notice, some of these options are sort of grayed out. you can't click on those, that means that those particular code tables are up to date. The ones that do need to be updated will be checked automatically, and once you have a look at that, you will select the Update button towards the bottom, the second link from the right. Okay, so now we've updated our code tables, we're ready to begin filing our shipment. Now again, this is a primary entry point for every transaction, and we got here by selecting the Create New Shipment link towards the top left. Once you select that link, this electronic form will be displayed. Now, as you can see, we have different fields here, and they're color-coded. There's different, we see red fields and blue fields. Red fields are always required for every shipment, okay? So we know automatically whenever we see red, there has to be something in that field. Blue fields are conditional, and they may or may not be required based on the information entered into the red sections. If you look towards the tabs, right now we're in the shipment information screen, and I can't do this right now because we're looking at a slide, but the user may toggle between the different tabs. The next one is the US PPI, which stands for the United States Principal Party and Interest. This is basically the seller, the shipper, the person who's receiving the primary benefit of the transaction, and this is usually monetary. After that, we'll see Ultimate Consignee. This is where the goods will be making their final destination. This is the buyer in this case. The next one is Commodities. And of course, this is where you'll report all of the items that you're shipping. Now, the first 4 screens are always going to be required for every shipment. You must have a full and complete shipment information, US PPI, Ultimate Consignee, and commodity information. In some cases, not very many, there may be an intermediate consignee, and that should be reported. In a few cases, a forwarder is involved, and equipment details, I have never really come across that information or in any situation where that was required. But be mindful of that. If that is required, make sure you report that accurately. Okay. Now this is our help menu, and this is this can be very helpful to answer any questions you may have about a particular field. Now let me actually go back one slide. Okay. We were looking at shipment information. Okay. Now by selecting F1, it will bring up sort of a glossary that defines all the terms that you see on that form. If you have a question about shipment reference number, you don't know what that means, but you see that it's red. You select F1, and it'll give you, basically it'll tell you whether or not that's a required field, as well as an explanation of that field. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back one slide one more time. If I were operating in the US PPI screen, and I selected F1, I would receive the full glossary for all the fields that were unique to that particular screen. So if this makes sense, right now we're looking at the help menu for the shipment information screen, but this menu will change based on which screen you're operating in. So I would have that handy as you fill out your shipment. You know, many questions will probably come up, and this can really help to answer those. And remember, that option is F1. Okay, so as we're entering our shipment information, as we're entering all the information for our shipment, at any point you can sort of monitor your own progress by selecting the Save Shipment button towards the bottom left. Now, once this shipment has been fully entered correctly, the shipment will be saved in the system. However, if any information is missing, you will not be able to save your shipment, and you'll receive an explanation of why. In this case, since no information has been entered yet, we see that there are a lot of fields that are blank in the shipment information screen, as well as the commodity information screen. So as we're filling out our data and we select Save, hopefully that the number of errors will sort of get smaller and smaller. And once all of our information has been entered correctly, selecting Save Shipment will save the shipment into the window, and I'll show you where that information is stored. Okay, and this is an example of the dialog that you will receive once a shipment has been stored successfully. Now, I'm sorry. If you can, look towards the bottom left. There's 2 sort of greenish boxes. the one on the bottom, it says no shipments ready to be sent to AES Direct. Once the shipment has been saved, you'll see that one shipment is ready to be sent to AES Direct. And by double-clicking on that link, it will bring you to this window with all the saved shipments. Now, we've only saved one shipment, but as we continue to file and batch shipments, those rows will be populated with as many shipments as we have saved there. And the user may select, any shipment from this list. They may select one, two, or all of them, and send those selected shipments at any point. Now, this is also another unique feature of AES PcLink, because in AES Direct, you're operating on a shipment-by-shipment basis. You can't save a shipment. Once you enter your shipment information, you have to pretty much send it at that point. You can't really save it. Here, you can save up to 99 shipments at once. So if you know that you have if a purchase has been made, you know that a shipment is scheduled to go out in a few weeks, you can actually save that data right now, batch all those shipments that are scheduled to go out, and send those electronically once the actual shipment moves out. So this is another way to organize your shipment information, and another feature that I enjoy. Okay, so here we've double-clicked. I'm going to go back one more time and show you that this window is populated with one shipment. Now, the user will double-click on that window, and it will send that shipment. Or you may highlight the window and select the Send Selected EEI button towards the bottom right. Once that is performed, a shipment status screen will pop up, and it will indicate that the send has succeeded. And it will also display the number of shipments remaining to be sent if you're sending a large batch of shipments at one time. Now, earlier I discussed the many ways we offer to retrieve your shipment information and to view the status of your shipment. And I mentioned that there's a capability within PcLink that allows you to view your shipment responses within the software. Now, if you look towards the left, there's a feature that's entitled Shipment Responses, and it's in that group of links right above AES Direct Functions. So once your shipment has been sent, you may click on Shipment Responses, and then you may search for that shipment through any number of dimensions. The easiest way would probably be by the shipment reference number. However, if you sent a shipment out a few weeks ago and you sort of misplaced your reference number, you can also search by date range within that week period or whatever period of time. Okay, so this is the status for the shipment that we just sent out. And as we can see, the shipment has been submitted, and this is our internal transaction number, the very last statement there, beginning with ITN:X, and then the 14-digit ITN number. Okay, so that concludes our presentation here. Again, this was covering the PcLink software. For more information, you may contact our Foreign Trade Division call center. We can be reached at 1-800-549-0595. Please select option 1 if you have any questions for AES. Option 2, and you'll be transferred to our commodity classification assistants, and this will assist you in coming up with their Schedule B numbers or HTS numbers. And option 3 for regulations assistance. If you're experiencing any problems with your system itself or any technical problems, you may contact our AES Direct technical support staff. Their toll-free hotline is 877-715-4433. We have 2 fax lines. Our unsecured fax line is 301-763-6638. Our secure fax line is 301-763-8835. And finally, you may send us a message at any time if you have any questions about anything related to AES. Our email address is askaes@census.gov. Okay. All right. At this point, I'm going to open it back up, throw it back to Linda, and I guess we're going to open up for some Q&A.
Great. Thank you, Nidal. Once again, if you'd like to ask a voice question, please press *1. I'm going to turn it over to the operator, Jeff.
Yes, and if you'd like to ask a question, please press *1, unmute your phone, and record your name clearly when prompted. Your name is required to introduce your question. To withdraw your question, please press *2. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please press *1.
While we're waiting for some questions, voice questions, I'll go ahead with some of the written questions. One question I have here is from Betty Liu. She says, Nidal, can you remind her of the URL for the AES?
Sure thing. Our URL is www.aesdirect, that's one word, aesdirect.gov, G-O-V.
Okay, great. Next question I have here, written question I have, is from Gustavo Rivas. The question is, could you please elaborate, Nidal, on the administrator role and importance on assigning a person?
On assigning a person. Okay, I'm assuming this refers to assigning different user managers and different sub-accounts underneath the administrative account. Again, this information is covered in our account administrator's user guide, but just to go over it briefly, the account administrator is a primary user of the account. For larger companies, it may be necessary to create other accounts that sort of fall underneath the account administrator account. All of these accounts, in all of these accounts, you will have the ability to enter your data and submit shipments. However, the account administrator has other abilities that are unique, such as the ability to create other accounts, to reset passwords. Also, since the account administrator is the legal owner of the account administrator is the person that would be required to contact technical support and to follow up with AES with any account-related issues.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have a next written question here from Beth Iker. Forgive me for not pronouncing that right. Since she asks, once you have a password, does it expire? And if it expires, what do you do?
Okay, that's a very good question. The password issue can be kind of tricky. Passwords do expire, so if you do file shipments pretty infrequently, a few months in between shipments, then it will expire. However, it's not that big of a deal. If it does expire, then you'll just need to contact our technical support staff, and they will be happy to reset your password and send you a new one. And again, technical support can be reached at 877-715-4433.
Okay, great. I'll go back to our operator to see if there's any voice questions.
The first question is from Tawana Smith-Brown. Your line is open.
Hi, my name is Tawana Smith-Brown, and I had a quick question regarding exporting codes. First of all, where do we get the exporting codes from? And if you're in a state that has more than one exporting location, how would you know what form of location or which location they're going to export that out of? I don't know if I'm asking it right, but.
Okay. Well, to answer your first question, if you want to, exporting codes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you referring to the, I guess within the commodity line, the export entry code that would identify the type of export?
Right.
For your shipment?
I believe that's what I'm asking you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for most shipments, for most standard shipments, one buyer, one seller, non-licensed, the export code will be OS. And this refers to the general exports. However, if there is anything unique for your shipment, if this is a temporary export, military export, that sort of thing, there are other types of export codes. And that's sort of something that the user will have to identify and do a little bit of research in order to identify their codes. If you have any questions about export codes, however, this is a perfect question for our regulations to answer. And they do come across this question frequently. And they can be reached by calling our call center and selecting option 3. And for your second question, I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Okay. As far as the export code, is that the same as the port of export?
Oh, the port of export, I understand.
That's what I'm sorry, I was asking the wrong question.
Okay, yeah, sure. All right, she's asking about the port of export, which is a required field, and this can be found in the shipment information screen. And this is required for all shipments. The regulations defines the port of export as the point at which the goods will leave the country. Now, if, for instance, if this is a vessel shipment going by ocean, most likely this will be a seaside port located within, on the coast of the United States, because vessel shipments all ship out of a port. If this is an air shipment, this will be the airport. So in order to identify your export codes, we do have a feature within PcLink, and I don't have any slides for it, but there is a code lookup tool that you can use to look up your code by entering you can enter just the first few characters of the departing city, and it will automatically add the 4-digit port of export code.
Do you have more questions?
The next question is from Pam Adkins. Your line is open.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is related to the code tables. You had mentioned that they have to be maintained periodically. And my question is, you kind of went through a scenario where you would go to a screen and it would say update the tables. Is that information coming from the government system and automatically updating into the PcLink tables?
Okay, Pam, thanks for the question. Yeah, that's correct. The code tables are stored within the AES Direct government system. AES Direct will send those code tables to the user once the code tables are updated. So yeah, and again, it is important to make sure that your code tables are updated at least every month, because codes will be added to the code tables as well as removed from the code tables periodically. So it's just good practice to make sure that we always maintain the current code table.
So there would be no manual keying of those tables. It would be automatically updated.
It's automatic, yes ma'am, automatically updated.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
We
Thank you.
have another party with an open line. You may ask your question. Check your mute button, please. We have someone with an open line.
Hi, this is Lee from the C.A. Chance & Company.
Hello.
Yes, hi. My name is Lee, and I do have a question here. I wrote it down, as a matter of fact. What is the benefit of filing your own AES instead of letting your forwarder do it for you?
Okay. There are a few benefits. Let me just take you through a few scenarios. If I am sending a shipment out to a friend of mine who happens to live somewhere in, let's say, Europe, and this is just a one-time thing, and I happen to send out an expensive item that requires filing. Now we're talking over $2,500. Mm-hmm. In that case, since I don't file, I'm not a business, I don't send out shipments on a frequent basis, it may be in my interest to take up the services of a forwarder because it's a sort of a one-time thing. However, if I'm a high-volume exporter and I'm filing shipments all day long, every month, it could be a little costly to have a forwarder process all of those shipments for me. And I can't go too much into detail about those practices. Those are private between forwarder and USPBI. But that's just a scenario. For high-volume exporters, it may be in your best interest to file on your own behalf for those reasons.
Something to consider in this day and time.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, there are no questions.
Okay, we'll continue on with some of our written questions. Next question I have here is from Patricia Van Dries. She says, our company presently has one person who is registered to file with the AES Direct, and we would like to register an additional person to file. Is there anything special that needs to be done in order to have more than one person with the ability to file?
Okay, Patricia. Yeah, absolutely. If your company does have one person who is registered, this will be the account administrator. The account administrator may register additional user accounts underneath the account administrator title. And there's more information available for this process at our website by navigating to the account administrator's user guide, and it spells out all the different scenarios and the steps needed to be taken to accomplish that. And again, if you have any questions about profile information, account administration information, this is something that our AES Direct technical support would be happy to answer.
Thank you. Next question here is from Denise Clark. Do you need to register again to download the AES PC link?
Okay, that's a good question. No. Once you have registered one time, your account is actually tied to your EIN number, which is your employer identification number. So if you registered one time and you downloaded the software and you began filing, but for whatever reason you uninstalled it you can actually use your same account information in order to reinstall the software.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question is from Shane Ferguson. I guess this question is referring to the AES PcLink. It says, are you saying that this is being streamed over the Internet?
Okay.
And Shane, if this is not the correct question, perhaps you can call in and correct us and give us the question you really want us to get at. But I'm thinking that's what he's asking. Or
okay. Yeah. AES PcLink is a standalone offline software component of AES Direct. So there's two types of systems, and they accomplish pretty much the same thing. There's the AES Direct website, which can be used to file your shipments online, or you may file your shipment information offline using PcLink. The only times where you would need an internet connection and to have your data streamed with PcLink is when you're actually sending your data to AES Direct. But actually keying in your data and saving your data and batching it for future transmissions, that can be done while offline. And I hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you. Great. Next question I have here is from Jeffrey Moley Posty. What is the best way to receive the updates for AES code tables?
To receive the update, well, the best way to update your code tables would be by, and I can actually navigate to that slide. Let's see, just bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, so we're going to select Tools, and then look for the fourth option from the top, which will be AES code tables. And then it will bring up this window, and you will just select all the tables that would need to be updated and select Update. And that would be, I think that's the only way to update your code tables from PcLink.
Okay. Next question I have here is, when referring, I guess, to two different locations, this is from Han Mock, from two different locations for export from DHL in Miami, Florida, which one is the best option to use for air exports?
When reporting from two different locations, which option is for air? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I think it's saying that this person uses a courier, which is DHL, and there are two different locations for export. And I guess when he's filing, which port of export is the best used?
I see. Okay, and I believe the reason for this question is that in some cases, selecting a particular port of export or carrier will, in the lookup tool, it will return more than one option for code, and I guess he wants to know, he or she wants to know which one do I select.
Right.
This is a question that the user will have to follow up with the carrier. The carrier has the best information as to the movement of the shipment, and that includes a port of export, which city the shipment is departing from and where it's going. That's nothing really AES can do to answer that question, and that's something that the user should not really guess on either. So if there's any questions or any doubts, then it's good to follow up with the carrier to track down the movement of the shipment.
Okay, great. Any more voice questions? We still have more written questions, but I'd like to give the audience an opportunity to engage and ask a question via the telephone.
Again, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1. And at this time, there are no questions.
Okay, we'll continue on with the written questions. Next question here is from Kristen Kelly. When completing a shipment entry for ocean shipment, does it automatically create an ISF importer security filing form as an attachment to the shipment's information?
I would say no, just because I'm not familiar with that term ISF, and it's not something that AES really it's not really defined in any of the AES procedures. This sounds like it sounds like it might be an export declaration or a customs document. But either way, this sounds like it would be out of scope of AES. So AES does not generate that particular piece of information.
Okay, great. Next question I have here looks like from Shelley Ribaro. She says she's received reports from freight forwarders that say that the PcLink only accepts Schedule B numbers. It does not accept the HCSUS. Please comment and confirm whether PcLink accepts the HTSUS numbers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I guess my question is, what does HTSUS mean again?
HTS stands for Harmonized Tariff Schedule.
I guess this HTSUS means in the United States. That's
in the United States, right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that is a good question. PcLink does offer the capability to toggle between both HTS and Schedule B. Now, if you look at the slides, I selected a screenshot which shows exactly how that can be done. You can go to the Tools menu and look towards the second to last option for Schedule B/HTS selection. When you select that, you can actually click on a radio button, which will toggle you between either Schedule B or HTS for that particular shipment. So you can use either or.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Tiwana Smith Brown. This person would like to know about identifying export codes.
Okay, I believe we had that question. This was a voice call earlier.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's okay.
I'd be happy to answer that again. Sure. The original question was how to identify the port of export code, and if there's more than one location, which one to identify. The first part of that answer would be the port of export is the final point in the United States at which the goods will leave the U.S. Okay, and as far as identifying the correct code, if there are more than one code to choose from, instead of guessing, on which code to use, it's best to follow up with the carrier as they have the information. They know where the goods are leaving from.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Sarah Swigert. When does the AES need to be filed? How many days prior to the shipment?
Okay. I know this depends on the mode of transport. For instance, if this is a truck shipment, it requires a certain time frame as opposed to an air shipment. I know the minimum is the prior to the date of export, but as far as those specific time frames, I'm not too familiar and I don't want to guess on those. So what I can do is I can do some research with our regulations staff, and I can follow up with Sarah later, if you don't mind forwarding me Sarah's information.
Okay. Thank you. Or Sarah, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
I guess this is a great question about training. When will there be the next training on this?
Okay.
I know
that is a good question.
There's a lot of training, yeah.
Yeah, trainings, there's sort of we offer training as the needs arise for it. And I can point you to our schedule online. I can't tell you exactly what new opportunities will be added to that schedule as it sort of changes. And I can actually go to the website right now. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but I can give you the actual URL for it. If you just bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, now this is going to be a long link, and it may be better for me to send it out to the group if possible, or not.
Yeah, we'll have, I think, a participation list of everyone.
Okay, great.
Participating.
Okay, I'll make sure to send out the schedule of our upcoming meetings and presentations opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
It looks like next question is, for a corporation with multiple IRS numbers, is there any way to use one login for all, or will each IRS number need to have a separate login?
Okay, yeah, that is correct. Each IRS will require a separate and unique login. Your AES account is tied to your IRS number. That is the primary key. So, So each IRS number is unique and requires a separate account.
Okay, great. Next question here is from Pam Garrett. When completing a shipment for the carrier SCAC code, which was in blue, indicating that it was not mandatory, but then when it was submitted, it was shown in the list as an error and required.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to do?
All right, Pam, I apologize for the inconvenience. In most cases, and I'm talking 99.9% of the time, the carrier code will be required. And I have not come across too many cases in which it was not required. And the only case that I could think of, and let me just navigate to the shipment information screen. Okay, so if we could look at our screens, we'll see that carrier is not required. I believe it depends on the mode of transport. As you can see, mode of transport is red, so it is required. Now, I believe if mode of transport, if you're physically moving the goods on your person, For instance, if you're flying, if you're on an airplane and you're bringing the goods with you, the package with you, and you're not using the services of an official carrier, that is one case where it would not be required. But in most cases, a carrier code is absolutely required. And if you have any questions about those requirements, again, you can contact our regulation staff, and they can define those for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question here is from Korn Kanak. My poor Trakul, forgive me for not pronouncing the last name correctly. The question is, can we print the EEI from the AES PC link?
Can we print the EEI from AES PC link? I know that you can print the actual statements that are sent from AES. Now this is the fatal error statements or the ITN information. But as far as the data on the screen itself, I'm not sure, and this could be sensitive information that would forbid you from printing that information. Because I'm not certain about it, I don't want to guess about this, and this is something that our regulations would be happy to answer. But I'm going to take down this question, and I'll make sure to follow up as well.
That's great. Thank you very much. Next question here is from Belinda Hernandez. Is there a cost for the PcLink versus the AES Direct?
Okay, Belinda, that's a very good question. Both systems are free, and they all actually do accomplish the same thing. So this means that once you've registered for your account and you start using AES PcLink, you may also use your same login information to access the AES Direct website as well, and they're both free.
Okay. Kelly McCorkle has a question. When I retrieve a shipment for printing, I get a message that the page is not found. I have to go to the AES Direct to print it. Is this unique to Windows 7 or other operating systems? It works fine with Windows NT.
I see. Okay, this does appear to be a systems issue, and it could be unique for Windows 7. I'm not certain of that. And again, this is a question that our technical support staff would have to answer for you, and I will go back to our contact information slide. There it is.
Okay, and this is another question regarding printing from Jeffrey Moley. You see about SED information. Is there a tab on the PcLink that allows you to print the information?
Let me see. I haven't seen one yet. It might be under the file information, but I'm not certain. I've never come across that yet.
Okay.
All right.
Well, those are all the written questions we currently have. I'm going to turn it over one more time to our operator, and then we will conclude this webinar.
Once again, if you'd like to ask a question, please press *1. The next question is from Gustavo Rivas. Your line is open.
Thank you. Please remind me, on the account administrator, did I read that there a notice where an account administrator must be assigned sometime in June, otherwise the accounts will go and be, I guess, put on hold?
I haven't seen that notice. Was this a broadcast message that was sent from AES?
I remember seeing an email or something of the sort, but maybe it's a different system. But I thought it was this one.
Okay. Yeah. That doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
not
you.
aware of that. Okay.
Okay. Do we have any more voice questions?
Yes, and the next question is from Linglong Yao. Your line is open.
Before got the ITN number, do we must have a shipment tracking number to get first?
Okay, that's a good question. The shipment tracking number is actually the shipment reference number.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to our shipment information screen so everybody can see where that would be entered.
If that's the case, we have a similar conflicting for both sides, AES or at a website for label printing. So that sometimes ask ITN first, then go to your site and ask our shipping number first. So sometimes.
Okay. I believe you're referring to the shipment reference number, and that's the second line on the screen. Okay. Yeah, the shipment reference number is actually defined by the user while entering the shipment information. So this isn't something that you really need to come up with before you enter the data. Typically, especially for shippers that send out many shipments, they assign some sort of a logic to their shipment reference number to keep it unique, because the reference number has to be unique for the life of the account. So the logic might be the date of the shipment. If like today, for instance, they'll say 6/15/2011 with some sort of sequence number. But either way, yeah, the reference number does not have to be researched or defined prior to entering the data. It's just a unique identification number that you come up with to help you identify your shipment and track it for later use.
Okay. So if we do a label on the website for shipping, for example, FedEx, at that time, like all the tracking information always coming out after you have everything finished, submit for printing, for the shipping label. So only that time or after you have the shipping the tracking information.
Yeah, after the shipment has been processed and an ITN number has been generated, it's left its footprint in our system, and we have the ability to track it as well as the user. So at that point, then you'll be able to print that information.
Okay, I got you. So there one step usually at their website before the printing the label, they also ask what is ITN number. So far, we do everything. I ask FedEx as agent to do AES work. But if we do AES direct or through PcLink, so the ITN number seems always after that. So at the printing label stage, is there any way you can any reference ITN number?
That's an interesting question. Okay, this is sort of a logistical question. I would say that since the ITN number is part of that label, there's no way to anticipate what that ITN number is going to be, because it does contain a six-digit unique sequence number on it. So that would probably have to be printed after the information has been accepted and an ITN number has been generated.
Yeah. So if we do ourselves, how we should do this kind of situation?
You could go ahead and just enter your data. If you're using PcLink, you can just go ahead and save your shipments in the queue and send them out whenever they're ready to be processed, and have your labels ready to go. And you can go ahead and print them out once you've received your ITN numbers for that shipment. So after the data has been sent to AES. Now, if this is sort of a time issue, there's not a lot of time between sending your data, receiving the ITN number, printing the labels, and sending them out. You can actually send your data out, weeks in advance, and then you'll have your ITN number ready to go, and you'll have that, you'll have plenty of time to print your labels prior to exporting your shipment.
So in this case, the reference number you mentioned earlier, that is not necessarily the number of the shipping tracking number.
Is this for FedEx purposes, how they track their shipments?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. See, I can't really speak to their, I guess, their tracking procedures. I'm not sure what data they use to track their information. But for AES, we do use the ITN number to track the data.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, FedEx might use different information. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have similar interface, like interface here. You ask their tracking number.
Sure.
At that time, they ask if over somewhere you need IEE filing. So ask ITN number.
Okay.
So if both happen at the same time, so they need each other's reference number. So it seems got trouble. So that's why so far we didn't use AES at this time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, probably I'll talk to them. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. If we have one last question, we can take it now.
The next question is from Jeffrey. Your line is open.
Yeah, I was one who asked about the SCD information. I haven't been on PcLink, but is there a way to print that SCD information?
Okay, I do remember that question, and I apologize. I don't know if that's possible within the software. Typically within, with these sort of applications, you'll see there's a file menu at the top left, and that's probably where that feature will be available. But I will go ahead and follow up, and I'll send you, a concrete answer on that after our meeting.
Okay, and then also, what about shipments like Puerto Rico? Are you able to file those in PcLink as well? Because I know.
Yeah, shipments to Puerto Rico, if they require filing, yeah, you can also file those through AES PcLink.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I do appreciate everyone's questions, and for those of you who do still have some questions and we didn't answer them, please note that Q&A login, that tab with the letters Q&A to submit a written question, and we will get back to you after this presentation. I would like to thank everybody for joining us for today's webinar. This is great. We had 170 plus people join us, so that's fantastic. Thank you very much for your participation. Also, please check out the commercial services website at www.export.gov, and of course Census's website, where you can also get more information. I'd also like to thank our speaker for today, Nidal Gibran, for his excellent presentation and his expertise on this matter. You do have contact information where people from his office can assist you with any question that you might have. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and please note that we will have another webinar in our series from the Basic Guide to Exporting, and if I understand that correctly, it looks like that next webinar will be coming in, let's see here, I think it's going to happen next week, if I'm not mistaken, but please check export.gov for more details on that matter. Oh, here it is. It will be on the 22nd, and it will be on understanding export controls. So please join us for the next webinar. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.